There we go.
Sweet. Is it meant to have started?
Yeah. It says when
Cool. Okay, let's get started. If my phone starts blasting in my pocket, it's because I'm just checking for the internet. So everyone loves his camera. This is just for everyone on YouTube, and we can see the turnout. Okay, cool. So we've had a little break over the summer. This is the September Svelte Society London event, being hosted by Triver. Do I do the slides? So thank you very much to Triver for hosting us this evening and putting on the food and drinks. So quick little round of applause for Triver. Thank you very much. And we've got 2 talks as per usual lined up for this evening. We've got Connor and Mark talking about using Cloudflare with Svelte, and from what I hear, people are a bit confused about Cloudflare. So hopefully this is going to clear things up for you. There we go, SvelteKit on Cloudflare by Connor and Mark. And the next slide, we've got ultra low latency SvelteKit by Scott Phillips. Oh, it's there. You finished your slides? Okay. And he's going to be talking about that after Connor and Mark are done. But before we get started with that, we just want to have Ben say a few words about Triver. Ben is the engineering VP here at Triver. So I'm just going to have him say a couple of words, and then we'll do housekeeping and code of conduct. And Willow's in control of the slides. So thank you, Willow. There you are. Ben, sorry.
No.
I got it right up until I had.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, first of all, thanks everybody for coming this evening, making your way out here. I hope you've had time to grab some pizza and some drinks. It's really nice to see people in person. And yeah, it's great to have so many people who like share an interest in one place. So thanks for coming along. Yeah, I'm Ben. I run the tech here at Triver. What do we do? Essentially, we help small businesses manage their cash flow. Those that are traditionally underserved by the established institutions, yet power the real economy of the country. So our goal is to help them. At our core, we kind of strive to do that by using technology to make complex things simple. And that's one of the things that I like about Svelte. It kind of embodies the similar mentality, web development for the rest of us. So yeah, these meetups are great. It's a fantastic opportunity to share ideas, share what's worked well, share things that haven't worked as well, and yeah, hopefully there's something that you'll get out. Yeah, if anybody wants to talk about Triver, always interested in talking to smart people that do smart things. So come find me. That's it. Get out of your way. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, so code of conduct. Code of conduct. Everyone here should have read the code of conduct before coming along. It's don't feel bad. Just don't be a bad person, and you're fine. But we do it. So if there is anyone who is treating you incorrectly, then please come speak to myself, Willow, or anyone else who is an ambassador. Kane, here we go. So anyone just approach us and tell us about what's happening, and we will fix it. Sorry if you're not happy with that being on string. Just fix it quickly. Are you okay with that? Every time. Everyone loves this camera. Okay. So housekeeping. Does everyone know how to get to the toilet? Through this corridor, turn left again. You'll find the gents there. You'll have to take a card. It's on a latch. Okay, cool. The door's on a latch, so you'll be able to get out. And there's no fire alarm test scheduled. So if your fire alarm does go off, just follow everyone else out the door. And I think that's it, Lou. So we have 2 talks, and then we've got a little special surprise at the end. But just to qualify it, because it might not be much of a surprise, who here can go to Amsterdam on the 9th of October? 2 people. So there'll be a raffle for 2 people at the end. We'll talk about it a bit later, but maybe it's towards the end. You might want to put yourself in. So I can see people checking their watches. So let's get on with the talks. Let's have Connor and Mark come on and talk about Svelte. Woo! Can I have a microphone each, or?
I don't mind. I have a tendency to talk quite loudly, so you might want to tell me.
Just hold it away from you. What's the matter?
I don't have an inside voice. All my voices are. Should I just stand further back?
Yes.
Oh, you can see me dancing on stream. Scary. The viewer numbers are split. Which one? Yeah. That's so fun. I didn't know that. Can we have a raffle for this? Can we? I want one. Oh, I want one of these. Right, can we go? We can go. Excellent. Right. Hello, everyone. As Ben said, thank you all for coming and navigating our labyrinth of an office. We're going to be talking about using Svelte and Cloudflare together. So the plan of what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be nattering very briefly and just giving you an intro to Cloudflare, what we're doing, and then we'll have a demo. And then I will be nattering again and just saying what we've experienced with Cloudflare over the past couple of years, I think, of using it. So for good and for bad. Thank you. So just to introduce ourselves, my name's Mark. I'm a software engineer here at Triver. And a fun fact, that this is actually my first ever TED Talk. Thank you. You're very, very kind. So it's really good that I'm in a more capable or really capable hands of Connor Adams, staff engineer, LLM extraordinaire here at Triver. And then, so we're actually going to start with a quick poll. So what do people host SvelteKit on, either for hobby stuff or for work or anything, use SvelteKit? Just shout loud as me, maybe not as loud. What do people host SvelteKit on? Cloudflare, Netlify, Kubernetes, Fly, Vercel, lots of things. Cool. That was fun. So as we said, there's lots of options. So we had Vercel, you can host it Netlify, Amplify. If you wanted just a static page, you could do like GitHub pages. So why are we using Cloudflare? Thanks. So I think the simple answer to this really is that a couple of years ago, even before I was here, when we were first starting to look at doing some front ends, there are 2 simple reasons why we. So the first is obviously we have there's an official adapter for Cloudflare, And the second is that when we're a small startup, it's important to try and keep this sort of surface area of tools we're using low. We were already using Cloudflare for DNS bot protection. And so having Cloudflare was moving to Cloudflare a simple choice. I think also some people within the tech team had already used Cloudflare to host front-end platforms in the past. So we went with Cloudflare, and without further ado, that's enough of me talking. I will now hand it to Connor, who will give you a bit of a demo. Hello.
Ooh. Hi. So for demo time, you're not meant to see that. It's all working, isn't it? Cool. So the demo is going to be how to put Svelte on Cloudflare. There's a little repository here. You're going to get linked to it. Hopefully you won't need this repository because there's not really much going on. It's a simple thing. But if you did want to follow along, there's a demo markdown that you can look at, in your leisure. But hopefully you won't need it. The purpose is, hopefully you're familiar with this wonderful little demo app from Svelte, and we're just going to deploy this to Cloudflare. And then afterwards, we're going to connect it with the Cloudflare platform, connect it to a key value store, and show you how you do that in SvelteKit. And that's it, really. So here's that repository. And the first thing we're going to do, can you see it? Yeah. Nice. Yeah, zooms. So we're going to do npm create Cloudflare. If you haven't done this before, you would do it at latest, but because the demo gods might smite me, we'll use a known working version. And what this will do is it'll kick up Cloudflare to say, what do you want to put it in? What folder? I'm going to put it in Svelte London. And then on the top, you have Cloudflare workers, and then you have framework starter. That's what we want. So some of you might be very familiar with this, but if you're not, I hope it's informative. So we've got all your favorite frameworks or not so favorite, and we're going to go with SvelteKit. And we're going to do the demo. And in here, you can see that we've kicked into the Svelte CLI, not the Cloudflare one. And then we're going to say we like TypeScript. We don't need any of these extras for now, although we love them. We do love PNPM, but we're going to do npm for now. Cool. And so this will set up the normal Svelte project as you would. And then this is where the magic Cloudflare create thing kicks in. It's installing Wrangler, which is the CLI for workers. It will then add some config for us. It will install the Svelte Cloudflare adapter. It will pop that in the Svelte config, update some types, git ignore, package JSON script, blah, blah. Do you want to do it in Git? No, because we've already got a Git repository. Do you want to deploy your application? We're going to say yes. YOLO, let's go. And then I'm already logged into Cloudflare. If you've not used Cloudflare before, it's quite easy to sign up. It's free. This is on a free account. You press allow, and then you're going to get a nice little token. And it's going to do npm run build and Wrangler deploy. So npm run build is just doing your normal Vite build process. And then afterwards, you get into the Wrangler bit, which is the Cloudflare stuff. And all it's really doing is just uploading it to Cloudflare. And it takes about 15 seconds and it waits a bit. And then here we are. So we open this up and then we have that same demo app wherever deployed on Cloudflare. Fun, fun, fun. And so what happened there? We said that it had Wrangler.json, JSON comments. So we open this up. This is the settings file for Wrangler, the CLI tool to work with Cloudflare workers. To be honest, it doesn't really matter what's in here. This adds some logs in there, and there's the name of your project, all that sort of stuff. We'll look at it a bit more later. There's also the Svelte config file. And pardon me, this is where some of the magic happened. So the Cloudflare create CLI added this adapter import, and then it just popped it in there. And then that allows your SvelteKit app to access all the Cloudflare stuff, deploy on there, and access key value store and all the stuff, both locally and in Cloudflare itself. So why don't we go and do a bit of that? So we've got this app to play with. What can we do? We'll do something not that useful, but this is just to show you Cloudflare. So this little counter, why don't we store the value of that somewhere in Cloudflare KV? Now, it's not a particular case. Actually, you might want to use something like Cloudflare durable objects. And in a sort of, in an ironic way, that's a bit of faff to set up for a demo. So we're going to do Cloudflare KV instead. It's meant for read-heavy workloads like a cache or something, not for if we get you running the demo and you're all pressing up and down, it's all writing at the same time, causing this. It's not like it doesn't follow the Redis API. I don't think it's just a basic key value stuff. That's all right. No. Questions are all welcome. Anyone can ask questions. Can't promise to answer them well, but you're welcome to ask. So right. So we're going to do that. So first, I'm not going to live code this all, but I will live code some of it. So what we're going to do is actually a little look. So I go to dash.cloudflare.com. I'm going to have a very short talk. Actually, revamp this. You've got a recents folder now, but there's all sorts of stuff in here. If we go, maybe I should zoom in a little bit. Love zooms, not too much. So in workers and pages, we've got I'll load with you. Here we've got our project we've just deployed, and there's the example one that's there already. And if we go past compute or up, or I'm lost, but where's the storage? Oh yeah, okay. So you've got that's like S3, blob storage. You've got workers KV. You've got this D1 SQL database, serverless SQLite database. All this fun. We're going to do workers KV, and we could create it in here if we wanted to, but we're going to use the CLI. So if I cd into our little Svelte London, we can do npx wrangler kv namespace create counter kv, and boop, 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 just like that, it's done it. We go on there. Wow, live. And so we've got our little key value store, and you can see in here. So this is why it's probably not like Redis. It's just keys and values. There's no like. I'm sure there's more Redis does, but anyway, not used it. And then it's given us a nice helpful thing. It's like, would you like us to add this to your config? And you just say yes, and that file I showed you earlier, the Wrangler JSON-C, it has popped it in here. And so what this does is it puts the ID. This is the ID from here. And then it puts this thing called a binding, and all the binding is a name used to refer to KV namespace. So which I'll show in a minute. This is how you reference it in your code. So the next step on this fun train is getting access to it in our code. So if I go to package JSON, the Cloudflare create CLI added this little thing at the bottom to call Wrangler types, and it has this worker configuration. So if I go to worker configuration now, we can see in here we've got this Cloudflare namespace, and then it's got this environment thing, and it allows us to access this assets thing. It doesn't really matter what that is, but what we're going to do is, because we've added the KV, we can run that command npm run cf typegen, and it's going to magically add that counter KV in that we created with all the nice types, which is cool. So how do you actually then use KV? Oh, I can hear myself. You can go to server, it doesn't really matter what server file, but we'll go to a server file, and let's go on that one. Or is that an example? That's an example. Nearly. We're going to go in Svelte London, into this one. And then here we've got, a load, page server load function. We've got actions. And from any of these, let's pick an action. You'll be able to destructure the platform. And then from there, you could get access to this KV. So I'll go KV equals platform. Can you type? And then we do env. And then it's not KV Copilot, it's counter KV. And so you can see we've got these types. And then voila, we have KV. And then, yeah, we'll accept that. and we can say, we'll ignore this bit because that's all way too complicated. But you can put something in your key value store, kv.put in key and value. So that's how you do it. But we said we're going to do it with the counter. I'm not going to live because I don't fancy it. Why would I? So have a little look at the counter. So the counter is here, little component, some state, whatever, and you can increment it. So what I've got is I've just got a little script. You can ignore what mies is; it doesn't matter. But a script here that I'll just run. It will just copy code from the repository. You could say so. Patch, and then it's updated this counter to take an initial count in and to call these APIs. And so we've created some endpoints. So if I put counter in here, we create we'll run npm run build quickly to get the types happy again. And so here we've got these get and post. Maybe we should be using actions or something else, but that's not the point of this demo. Or remote functions. Exactly, that would be fun. But anyway, ignoring that, we've like we did in the previous thing. A lot of this is just fluff. It doesn't really matter. You get and then you return it. And similarly for the this was all written by Claude. To be honest. Anyway, it works. And so we can now do npm run dev, and we will we will have this running locally. And then if I press up, it works before. But when I refresh the page, wow, it still says how amazing. And you can see all the logs coming in here. And so this is all running locally. This isn't using the key value store. It's using a little local one. So you could do this on the train, no internet. And inside the Wrangler folder, there's a state thing, KV, with random things. And you can you see that 4 there? That's the 4 from there. Wow. And so that's it running locally, which is fun. And then we do npm run deploy, and it will deploy it. And then if I go back here, we'll kill the local host. Here's that one we have. And yeah, no, it's working, no. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, come on. I think that's it. It is working now. And so we'll give you the link to this later so you can really have fun with the counter. How low can it go? How high can it go? Wow. So yeah. What's really fast though, isn't it? I mean, I know it's like, yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Yeah. So that pretty much concludes it. But we'll have a little poke around on the Cloudflare dashboard. So if we go to workers and pages, we can have a little look in. Oh, hello, sir. Can you have multiple namespaces? What, like key value things? Yeah. You know, as many as you want, basically. Yeah. And if we go in Svelte London, this is how your app is. This is how our app is deployed. Where it's deployed. What am I saying? Anyway, you can go to bindings, and this is fun. You see that assets thing that we didn't really explain, but that doesn't matter. And you can see counter KV. And so if you add other things like the D1 database or whatever, it will show it here. And then in logs, we can see some of the stuff that here. This is the logs that were being logged out in that API function or whatever. So you can see it. And I think that's it. And you can change the URL. You can add custom domain. You can add variables and all this stuff. Yeah, I think that's it for the demo. So yeah, back to Marky boy.
Perfect. Can we have a round of applause for Connor? Absolutely fantastic. flawless demo. Nice. And if we went to the next slide, we would see there's a QR code, which you have approximately 5 seconds to scan if you wish or not, which is to go to the counter demo if you really want to fight people to see how high or low you can make the number. Should I stand there? Yeah. Behind. Cool. I'm just going to spend the last few minutes. Apologies for the horrendous pun. I wrote it. I can't even blame it on ChatGPT. It's awful. I'm so sorry. But I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes just talking what we found over the past couple of years of using Cloudflare, what's been good, what's been bad. So something good, although it's not something unique to Cloudflare, is preview deployments. So same with Vercel, with Netlify, you can upload preview versions if you just want people to designer to look at what you've made. Something we use it for. Shout out if you've not seen this talk from Svelte Summit. Some people probably seen it in person. Scott, yes. But this is Dominic's talk from Svelte Summit about Svelte testing. What he recommends is, or what he says you can do, and something we now do, is we point our end-to-end tests to our preview versions in CI. Which can run faster, and yeah, I would recommend you do that. Something we have found, pages versus workers. Essentially, the really short TLDR for this is there are 2 different ways of hosting SvelteKit and Cloudflare. We say use workers. You can either use pages or workers. Use workers. Why would you want to use workers? Well, with workers you get full observability, whereas pages you only get real-time tail logging. With workers, there's a Veep plugin for better local development. For durable objects, which kind of alluded to earlier, it's easier to integrate them with workers. With workers is a serverless platform, so it's not just apps. You can do cron triggers with them as well. And just to now sort of nail on the head is that Cloudflare recommends them over pages, and there's now hello. Yes, yeah, please tell us.
And when I switched to workers, you can't have a simple webhook, and I had to build a whole thing in Strapi to trigger GitHub to then build it, and then GitHub built it rather than Cloudflare, and then the environment variables weren't there, so that caused problems. And I learned a lot in this process. So just replacing a simple webhook was a serious problem.
Wow.
The second one today, which is I've got one pages site which is serving half a dozen different domains, which are in different accounts, which I have under my thing, but they're not the same account, and I cannot get them the same thing to work on workers. So I've hit 2 things where pages are definitely better than workers.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I've just, there's some simple solutions to those, but the solutions I've found are not easy.
Yeah, I think there's the other reason, which I haven't mentioned here, I think why you'd use pages as well is because pages, I think, is the only one that offers, if you host your domain outside of Cloudflare, I think workers doesn't support that either at the moment. You'd want to use pages. Yes.
They're just on separate accounts.
Yeah. That's completely fair enough. For us, we've managed to migrate to workers. We started with pages. It took us just sort of on and off a couple of weeks to move over. There's also now an LLM script for moving from Cloudflare, which Cloudflare provide, which is quite fun. But basically, why am I saying this? If you were going to start a new project, obviously, if you have an old project, use pages if it's hard to migrate. But if you're going to start a new project, use Cloud Workers if you can. But why am I saying this? Is just because Cloudflare is still changing. A year ago, you couldn't do SvelteKit on Workers. So just
be prepared for things to change, and you might have to migrate, etc., etc. It's not 100% stable. Things might change. Again, this is just on the same line. It's you probably won't notice this, or this might not be a deal breaker for you. But with environmental variables, something we found is you can have preview versions and deployed versions. You see, we've got two versions here. We've got a preview and deployed version. But then when we look at our environmental variables, you can only see the environmental variables for the very latest version, whether it's the preview version or deployed version. Why does this matter? Well, it's just sometimes a bit annoying if you have a bug in production, you just want to check what the environmental variables are, and you've had a subsequent preview, you can't see those environmental variables. If we're wrong about that and you know a solution to this, please let us know. But this is something we found in UI, and it's just quite annoying, and it just shows that the developer UX is sometimes a bit rougher than Vercel. It's not as smooth. And then just sort of on that is that what we found over the past couple of years is that it can be a slightly lonely world with Cloudflare and SvelteKit. We shout out to Ryan, who's at the back there. I'm going to shout him out. But he was working with Sentry over the past couple of months, and we tried to put Sentry into SvelteKit and Cloudflare, and it had just been released, and there were a couple of issues, and you just have to be prepared to fix those bugs and raise those bugs. I'm sure as we're all sort of using Svelte, and we're quite happy to be slightly on the leading edge of things rather than something sort of which have been going for ages, like React or things like that, that we're happy with a bit of like instability. But just as a warning, if you want something really solid and stable, potentially Cloudflare isn't for you. And then just to wrap up, really, so hopefully we've shown you what Cloudflare offers. Really, hopefully we've given you with Connor in the fantastic demo how you get started, and then I've just at the end just shown you some of the drawbacks we've had over the past couple of years, and just as a hopefully this shows it, but this is not we're not saying this is necessarily the best place to host SvelteKit. It might work for you. If that does, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. But we do recommend you give it a go. It's quite cool. Thank you for listening. Thank you for my human-sized clicker at the start. And if you want to see the repo, there you go. Any questions? Thank you. Hello.
KV work locally. Is that the same for the rest of those resources that you listed in the left panel, such as
D1 does work locally. To be honest, I actually don't know. But a lot of stuff works. Yeah, there's. Yeah, I actually don't know. There's definitely some. Yeah, my mind's gone blank. But there's one. There are limitations with. I was getting confused with durable objects that do previews. That's different. That's not local. But yeah.
I could see SQL Lite running locally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. But you check if you look on it, it's you can see it under mini flare. It will say like all the different things that. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
You mentioned that you didn't. I don't know whether this is working. Is it working?
Probably.
Am I working?
Yeah.
Can the internet hear me?
It's on the internet.
Yeah, the internet can hear me. So yeah, you mentioned before that you didn't fancy doing the demo on durable objects. I had a tinker with durable objects on Cloudflare and Svelte as well, and I kind of feel the same. It felt like as soon as I got it to work, I kind of didn't really get the sense of particularly high confidence. Do you use durable objects?
Only for fun. Yeah, we
Okay.
We don't use it at work or anything. And yeah, but I think that is like a common sentiment that it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea, right? It's a good one, isn't it?
The idea is very cool. Stateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Object that sort of runs or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's how they built the D1 thing. It runs in durable objects itself. The D1 database is just SQLite and a durable object. But yeah, it's really cool. You can do lots of cool things with it.
And any shout outs there, like where I can kind of like.
To be honest, I'll give this sort of a random shout out. Is that there's a thing called Rivet, RIVET,
okay.
that I started playing around with, but I never really I didn't get that far with it, but that
Okay.
that kind of puts another layer on it, and you can
And it gives you that little bit extra confidence, is it?
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
I
not.
haven't really got any recommendations, to be honest. It is a bit complicated. So,
Yeah, I thought that, but
Yeah.
but really good technology as well.
yeah, exactly. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm interested to know what it is that Cloudflare has over Vercel or other platforms which you use it for.
I don't think I've got anything that is. But it's sometimes cheaper. You hear about like Vercel, like these massive bills,
Yeah.
just for like pet projects and things. You do also hear about massive bills for Cloudflare. That's usually on like the enterprise side rather than the thing. Other than that, I don't think there is. I can't think it. The D1 and all these, like, because they do sort of or cool technologies like D1 and durable objects. That stuff is like fun and interesting. And yeah, R2 is cheap as well, the S3 replacement.
Is it for the latency, or is it?
That as well, yeah, it's quick as well. Yeah. But I don't know and also if anyone else wants to answer this question.
I've got some reasons. So on Netlify, I can only have one account. I mean, basically, I'm running everything on free accounts, so I'm not a very good customer. But they're doing an awful lot, actually. All these free accounts, and each of my people that I work for each of an account. So on Netlify, I can't have multiple accounts, so that's a non-starter. On Vercel, the terms and conditions say we can't have a commercial site. So if we're using Stripe to take money, we'd be breaking the thing. But anyway, Cloudflare, if you look at the usage versus the others, it's a fraction of what you're clocking up. So it's going to be a long time, a lot later before we're going to get charged on Cloudflare than we are on any other application.
Yeah.
So and that's consistent with their model of being, a low cost sort of company in things they do, whereas the Netlifys and Vercels have got to be, charge a premium as soon as you start paying.
That's true. They're running on someone else's cloud where Cloudflare runs their own one. Don't know if you have
Any more questions? Hayden?
Yep. So in your demo, you showed deploying through their script, npm run deploy. I presume that's not what you do in production, or do you?
No, yeah, we don't. So initially with Cloudflare Pages, we started off. We used they have a GitHub app. Cloudflare have a GitHub app. You just install it on GitHub, and then every time you open a PR, it will build it for you and deploy it. So you don't need even to add any GitHub actions or whatever. But also, if you want, which we do now, we set up GitHub actions to deploy it. So yeah, you can do either.
Oh, so you use GitHub actions right now?
We do use GitHub actions now. It's so that we can set up like stable environments. So you can have like dev, staging, prod, or whatever, and have the preview environment.
Follow-up question. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, that's all through Wrangler.
It's all through Wrangler.
Yeah.
So the follow-up question is in your Wrangler config file. It obviously has the binding and the whatever ID for the key value store. How does that work across multiple environments?
To be fair, we don't actually. Most of our actual like state and stuff is stored in AWS. So we mainly use just Cloudflare just to do the front end. But yeah, you can set it up to have different environments in your Wrangler. And previously we had it. So I remember doing it for the thing. We had literally different Wrangler files, and then you point it for the different. Yeah. But I think you can do stuff in the Wrangler thing, right?
Yeah. So for now, for example, like what we use it for, the different environments, is just for the URLs, like the staging URLs and stuff, and for the domains. So you can set within Wrangler, within the JSON comments, different environments for different ones, and so we have different domains for each environment. I think you can do the same with variables and everything. So.
Secrets through AWS Secrets Manager.
So we put our secrets in GitHub Actions because that's where we're like deploying it. But yeah, you can put it also in Wrangler. You can do Wrangler secret puts, and then that puts it in the thing. And yeah, you could put it in many places. Yes,
but I only discovered recently that in SvelteKit, there's a big difference between dynamic and static.
Oh yeah.
And what you put in static, it puts in at build time.
Yes.
And if you don't have the environmental variable there at build time, like you build on GitHub Actions without the environmental variable, then it goes wrong later. Whereas dynamic is maybe that runtime.
That's everyone's fun. Yeah.
Environmental variables on Cloudflare, you can give it runtime variables and build time variables.
Yeah. We got a little bit burnt and confused by that ourselves.
Cool. Thanks.
Did you have a question?
Quick one.
Just is it fairly easy to put a database against deployment? So like MySQL or
So you can
Postgres.
either use their like D1 thing, but they also, I've not actually used it, but they have this thing called Hyperdrive, and it allows you to connect to external Postgres or whatever. So I've not actually done it, but I think the answer is yes.
Okay, cheers. Where are we at with the counter as well?
Yeah.
Has everyone been counting the counter? Clicking the counter? Should have done that.
Let's refresh. It's not live. Oh, who's done that? Very good.
Where is it?
Oh, it's not on the
Can you
screen.
share the screen?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, my bad. Who wants to see their handiwork? There it is. It's over one.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Thank you.
Cool.
We're done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. I forgot what the talk's called. It's called Minimal Latency in SvelteKit. Is that right, Scott? Ultra low latency in SvelteKit.
It's basically new learning. So, dial your expectations on that one. Do you need me to plug this in? No. Okay.
What's the URL?
So that's very strange that it's actually on that. Oh, excellent. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Lovely choice. I'm going to clip. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Where's the camera?
Okay. Hello. It's got you, hasn't it? Hi. Good evening, Internet. Good evening, everybody else. And Triver, thank you very much for having me. Lovely talk. I did you some graphics here. Yeah, so it's the very least I could do. The only problem is that's my only slide, because that's basically all I've done. So there's a few more slides like this one. I have a feeling that somehow like Svelte is really exciting. Like when you go into the mangrove, so you go into some other kind of verge. You've got like all of the life that's really, really dense on the verges, and that's kind of how I see Svelte, because you can do stuff with JavaScript that's really difficult to do with other languages or other frameworks, and that's that's kind of how I think about it. I'm Scott, and I'm not really a developer, not like you guys, because my background is more kind of UX. So I'm more like a multidisciplinary person. So I'll work with the designers, and I'll work with the marketing team, and probably 3D graphics people, or maybe like the data nerds, and then I'll basically like shape it into a thing like an app, or a website maybe for the WHO, and then get fired by Donald Trump when the USAID money stops, that kind of thing. And when I'm not doing that, I like to do National Geographic. I got a scholarship with Microsoft a while ago when I did some things with LLMs, streaming in UIs when everybody said like, you can't steer an LLM. And I was like, I'll have a crack at that. And yeah, at the bottom here, it's another thing as well, which I'll mention later, where there was this hackathon that I got invited to. It was just really inspiring, and I really liked it. So that's me. So what are we doing today? So that's also me, and on top of me is like some little landmarks, and those landmarks are coming from an app which I'm sure that you've all used called MediaPub. It's by Google, and it's their web AI. So you can do things like segmentation, or you can do like yoga poses, right? If you want to do yoga poses and check that your form is correct, and that's what's going on here on my face. The other thing that's going on here, because the screen is like a fantastic resolution and you can read this so well, it says that after 324 seconds of playing this Pong, we have a 1.48 megabyte stream of data. Now, if anybody knows anything about anything, that's basically like video, okay? For 300 seconds, I should not be sending that amount of data. So that's really what my talk is about. That was the pickle that I got myself in. And everybody knows, like Pong is like child's play, right? So before we get into that, I just really quickly just want to like go over Svelte, because we all use it interchangeably, but it actually really means 4 different things. And I really think it's important to actually make that distinction, especially for people that I've invited to this talk that are probably, hopefully, watching on the internet. So the first thing is, Svelte is a language, and that's brilliant because it combines HTML and CSS and JavaScript all into one place. And it does really clever things with that. And it also tosses in things like runes, which is great. And you get like this thing called derived when you use Svelte. So you can combine 2 things, like your Scrabble score, and it'll just derive your score for you, which is great if you use Qs and Ks and things like that, and big numbers, which are hard. And Svelte is also a compiler. So everybody in this room knows what a compiler is, but basically what that means is if you go and write something, what you're actually looking at, like for example, on my Cloudflare app, which uses durable objects, this was just my toy app that I was making, for the lols. In fact, actually, if you grab your phone, you'll actually see the slides, and it's got links on here. I did forget to mention that actually in my hubris. So basically, there's links on here, and you'll be able to like link to a demo later. So yeah, Svelte is a compiler, and why is that important? Because this code isn't actually really Svelte. It's actually compiled from all of these different things that we call Svelte, i.e. the language, and then it puts it into very, very kind of like Pojo, plain old JavaScript objects, and just like normal stuff that can tinker with the DOM. The DOM is just like, it's just the thing that you do, right, as a web developer. And that's why Svelte is 2 things. And moving on to the third thing that Svelte is. It is also an app. And this is the most underrated app in Svelte, if you ask me. Like, I love this thing. Like, I really, really think it's amazing. Willow will attest to just how much I love the REPL, because she's seen my flipping REPL, right? It's like when I work on a feature, I'll have like, 10 or 15 of those tabs open, because, yeah, you can think about things. You can be really lucid about it. You can get things right. And then you can put that stuff into your repo, and you can work in, Cursor or VS Code or whatever you're up to. All right, going forward and backwards now. Hello, we're now into SvelteKit. We all know what that is, because obviously we just had a splendid demo about what SvelteKit is. Obviously, there's other things on there, like, for those people at home, it's a plugin to Vite. So why is that important? Well, Vite does fancy stuff like hot module reloading. So if you've got 5 or 6 files, and then you make a file save change, and then you go back into your browser, if you're living in like 1998, you do, F5 or whatever it is, refresh, and you keep refreshing until like, your file system had caught up and it refreshes. And many, 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 many refresh buttons have been pressed in our lives. And SvelteKit with hot module reloading gets rid of all of that. So that is, that's what Svelte is. We use them interchangeably. So back here, let's try and get this number down, and let's see how we do it. So compression. We love compression, right? But if you're going to compress, then you also have to like figure it all out and kind of, you've got to decompress it, and then you've got to, do that on the server again, and then you've got to send something else over to your client, and then you've got to recombine those things. And actually, it gets pretty difficult quite quickly before you get the actual thing that you want. And even then, you can see that that clearly looks wonky because it's like at the edge of the screen. And this is how you solve that problem with something like Message Pack. And what that will do is it will actually shrink it down and send binary blobs over, so that when you go and do those things on your client and on your server, and you shrink everything down, you can very easily unpack and then repack those things into like a sensible fashion. So of course, my first idea is compress all the things. But it isn't really, is it? Because obviously, it's like when you're building an app, there's loads and loads of, performance things that you actually have to do. So what did we have to do to figure out Pong? Well, the first thing is, you might actually just want to have a look at the code on your phone. So if you just go to pin.me, you can actually read that. And of course, because it's like a smartphone, you can do pinch to zoom as well, which is just fascinating technology. So yeah, what that is probably the easiest foot gun in Svelte. When you're working in the DOM, like I said, to make those derived changes or what have you, if you're doing something like your Scrabble score, okay, it's really useful to have state and to be able to switch in and out from like one value to the next, and then the DOM is just surgically making that change. What isn't so good is if you use the reactivity system on non-DOMs, okay? We found a bug. I don't know why it's doing that. No, I really don't know why it's doing that. Which is a surprise, because it's never done that before. Cloudflare's never let me down. But this is the first time that Cloudflare is letting me down. So let's have a look. Okay. We're back. So what are non-DOMs? It could be. I'll just toss that one in, as soon as somebody said it. You remember Rishi Sunak's wife? Yeah, right? His wife, Prime Minister's wife, she's a non-DOM, right? So she doesn't pay any tax, but Prime Minister's wife doesn't live here. Anyway, so this is a bit more of a technical kind of like, let's have a think about what non-DOMs really are and like what the implications of that are. So unfortunately, the actual resolution of this fancy upscaling gadget that we have going on here is fascinating, riveting pixel depth there. What you can do is you can actually zoom in, and you can see on this present slide that what it is that I've basically figured out is, don't use things like derived and state and all of that kind of thing if you're rendering to the canvas, okay, whether that's 2D or 3D. Reason being, it will do a tear down and a rebuild every time you increment that value, whatever it is. So how do you get around that? What you do is you set up like a registry, and you have updatables, and then every time your request animation frame loop goes round, so basically every frame, you essentially like queue up like a bus of like things to do, okay? So if we were in a 3D scene right now, we'd have like chairs, but the chairs aren't moving. Don't add them to the queue. Somebody puts up their hand because they've got a question. So that now has gone into that queue for that frame, okay? And then there's a Y value that changes in memory. What's critical about this is there's no spoons. There is no spoon. Svelte has no idea this happened, right? Because it's just happening in memory. And the distinction is really vital. So for example, if you want to tinker with like, in 2D and 3D and getting all of that stuff, like synchronized, the way to do it is think about context, think about your request animation loop, inject everything in as like registerable things. And it's kind of like a hub sub model, an agent model. So let's have a little look. Can we see another slide, please? Excellent. Thank you, Cloudflare. So this is something that I did basically before the compression. It's another slide that is really difficult to read. But basically what we're doing here is instead of sending everything over to our kind of physics engine where our balls are bouncing, if the paddle has basically hit the ball, chances are, because that event's just happened and we're kind of just moving through game state, we're not actually going to be having another one of those collision events for quite some time. So defer all of those and basically don't do them. And that basically means that immediately, rather than actually compressing anything, we're not sending any data, i.e. physics, computationally expensive. So, you know, ain't colliding it, don't collide it, basically. It's like, just don't do that work, right? So that gets us somewhere. That is now like about 800K. So it's come down from about 1.4-ish for 300 seconds. So clearly ridiculous into just nuts. So let's jump back. Okay, so here's another one. What we're actually doing in this code is, again, something similar. We're not sending the things over, providing that we can get away with not sending them. But in this particular instance, what we're doing is deltas. So if we're going through part of the game state and we get to a particular juncture in the state, let's say, for example, somebody has scored, then because somebody scored, we know that nobody's playing. So if we're sending deltas, that's a really cheap win. And that is, in fact, actually, there's one more thing inside of here, which is, I'm really struggling to read it. I'm sorry about that. It's actually this thing here. Okay, so what this is, because we know that the deltas are now able to be broken down into much smaller chunks, we're able to do like what player 1 is sending, what player 2 is going to listen for, and the ball position. And that means that we can do them really compact. By really compact, I basically just mean it's Pong, XY. So really, really compact.
You're basically getting two people on different machines playing Pong against one another.
But using the video.
Huh?
Using the video.
Using the video.
So you remember I said that I've got the thing and the little video has got like spots on my face.
Right.
So the user interface here, just to kind of like figure out how fast you can actually make SvelteKit. The goal is to try and get it.
You're controlling the paddle with your face.
I'm saying that you're controlling it with your hand. You could control it with your face. You can controlling it with your hand, and your opponent is controlling it with their hand. Okay, so I'll do a demo of it later. So it's okay. I mean, it does sound bonkers. Like it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like how can it be that fast, right? But fundamentally, we know that streaming video is like a lot of data, right? You know, these I don't know, FaceTime or WhatsApp streaming video, you can send a lot of data and it kind of gives you the illusion that it's real time. So with that idea in mind, I'm not sending the video. When me and you are playing Pong, you're looking at your video, I'm looking at my video, and that's where it ends. Like Svelte doesn't even get involved. That data isn't sent over the internet. What's sent over the internet is the XY of your hand and the ball, and that's all that's sent. So it's very, very small, but it kind of feels actually quite a fun little game. It's like playing Pong. And it's real time, right? I mean, like, you know, that was the whole idea. It just goes to WebSockets, through socket IO actually in this instance. And just, you know, for the lols, I know that there's a few different ways to like set up the actual server that you're going to send this on. There are a ton of slides missing that I actually wanted to talk about, specifically Fly IO and how these things basically work on Fly IO. And, you know, you have this kind of like nice Docker environment, Docker-esque environment, you know, where you can kind of do these things in a way that gives you the confidence that you're working in Docker, but then it also kind of works in these like special Firecracker VMs. But I don't have the slides for that. I could talk to you about it. Sure, why not? Oh, actually, I can't. I'll tell you why later. So yeah, we've basically like dropped down to about 400K. So we're about half a megabyte kind of territory now. So we've done the deltas, we've done this little array thing, and we've also done the other change before, which was basically just, state. So we're really just purging all the way down. And the next one, this was really, as soon as you actually look at all of the state, then you can actually think really lucidly, like, what is my data? Like, if you think about the simplicity of Pong, like we teach those things in school basically because it really is just sending an XY coordinate like all the time. That's all it is. And ultimately what you get is an array to be recombined on the server so that it can do like catch-up updates. And on your client, you can even have these kind of nice manifestations where it's not actually doing the thing that the server's doing. It's not actually even doing the thing that the other client's doing. It's doing a prediction. And then right at the last kind of like 2 frames, it all kind of like catches up, and then it's in sync again until it starts to actually kind of like, lose sync and then start to do the prediction again. And all of that basically is just running in these 2 variables all the time. So the question is, how much benefit does this give us when we actually think about compression, right? Because like we love compression, right? It's everywhere. It turns out that this data structure is better than compression. Because when you're just sending the XY values, in terms of like the actual binary representation of them, it's the same. So yes, there's a limit to that. So for example, if we were going to be doing something like, Mario Kart, chances are there's a lot of that game state that's just going to be X and Y changes, right? If you run into a banana and that's off screen, you can do that. If you run into that banana and then the character's skidding all over the place, I don't know, probably compression, that's probably about the verge. So the point of that particularly, for me at least, is if you've got simple structures that you really understand, and you're able to kind of like map your game state, and you're really able to think clearly about your game state and the shape of your data, a lot of times the kind of data that we're doing, forms and things like that, like, yeah, compression isn't necessary. Yes, compression is a necessary evil for video and images and things like that, audio, but for this kind of thing, especially for games, not at all. So what's relevant about this? I know it's terrible graphics, but we've got down to about 200K. So 344 seconds of gameplay, whereas originally that was about 1.5 megs, 1.48 megs. So that's quite so obviously it's Pong, right? Like, this whole talk isn't going to get anybody anywhere, is it really? In reality? Except the whole manifestation behind me actually having this idea was, does anybody realize that Nintendo Wii is 20 years old? Right? Like, no, it's nuts. Like, I mean, everybody with, like, don't you just like wake up having those Nintendo Wii dreams and like, it's Christmas, right? It's like, these are good times, man. It's 20 years ago. And I just thought like, using stuff like MediaPipe, right? I'm going to have a crack at building one of those. So that was a bit of Rust in there. I've obviously been looking at Rust because like everybody's talking about Rust, aren't they? So you've got to go with the trends, right? It's like, if everybody's talking about Rust, it's like FOMO right here. So yeah, I've tinkered with it, not much to show, but Spacetime DB is going to be in a Svelte talk for sure, because getting all of this stuff to work, and I'll just read that out for you. It's basically SvelteKit 2 in real time with Socket.io, gesture-based paddle control in 3D. So that's running 3JS. So obviously Svelte, declarative components, which are self-sufficient agents. So that basically means that they're responsible for doing their own tear down and their own kind of life cycle. I also love attachments, by the way. If you're not familiar with the attachments pattern, I'm 100% on board explaining like until the cows come home, like the benefits of using attach. It's impressive what these guys have done, because you have a declarative component in your page, right? Like your orchestrator. You look at it, you can reason your entire flipping code base, or an LLM can, just by looking at how you're attaching things. use attach, like for sure. That would be my dying wish, actually, for you to use attach. So let's have a look what else we've got. So yeah, this is my idea. Okay, so here's like a games lobby. Okay, so we take things like Pong, and we take things like Duck Hunt, and we take things like Quake, and we take things like Mario Kart, and we take things like Star Wars, and we put them all together in this kind of gesture-based, thing where it's running on the camera. So of course, there's got to be a demo, right? Just before the demo, Google have spotted what I've been doing, because obviously, like, they're the whole web AI guys, and they're just like, that's actually quite good. So the reason that they've said it's quite good, what I've managed to do is if you've got like the camera over there, I've basically got Duck Hunt to work just like this, right? And it's like that tiny little squidgy bit of pixel difference can give you Z inference, providing that you do like a few kind of cascade filters and that kind of stuff, and you get your denoising all right and that kind of thing. And the other thing that they're interested in is Mario Kart. Turns out, right? You remember ludicrous speed, right? You remember ludicrous speed on the Spaceballs? Okay, there's a film called Spaceballs in the 80s. Okay, and rather than going to light speed to chase the, I don't know, Winnebago across space, right? Because it's a flying Winnebago. They're not going to go to light speed. So Rick Moranis goes, go to ludicrous speed, and it's faster than light speed. What ends up happening on this movie is he's basically like holding on like this, that's going too fast. And it turns out that if you think about like that, and you think about like what a little lady's like in their car, right? They're kind of like, they're driving really slow, and they're like, their nose is on the wheel. And then like you've got ludicrous speed. It turns out that if you do those two things, right, you can basically modulate the speed. And that's a new locomotion. And this is like a new way to use VR. Like, before all kinds of things with joysticks and all that crap, this is a new way to use VR. And specifically, it's actually a new way to do locomotion. So once I solve the problem of locomotion, I can basically move around, travel around a 3D environment. What that basically means is any game like Quake, Counter-Strike, Star Fox, I can do the demo of Star Fox, because this one you can actually do the camera going up and down, right? How do you do that? Well, if you basically have your hands kind of between your face and the screen, all of a sudden you actually get to figure out like, okay, well, now I'm actually pitching down, and then the spaceship itself, basically the camera points down and the spaceship points down. But of course, you can thrust, you can pull back to brake, you can fire, and I have a corporate sponsorship meeting in Silicon Valley next month. So that was my little bit of news. And yeah, like I said, I got a bit distracted today. There was going to be more slides about Flight.io, but I got a bit distracted trying to figure out flights and where I'm staying, because I'm going to be doing this similar talk in Google over at the AI conference at their summit. So yeah, any questions? More than happy to talk to you about like, yeah, hit me up with some questions. Yeah, tell me. Yeah. You can see it. I'll fire it up on the laptop, and you can just have a go on the laptop. Having said that, you can also just use it. It is actually like that link. Yeah, if you're on Pindeck, that link actually works. So you can just fire it up and just play Duck Hunt now. It'll just work.
Yeah, XY coordinate on the.
Yes.
Every time it moves, you transmit the. But couldn't you just say whenever there's a collision, it's a vector and an initial position and velocity?
Yeah, I'm doing vector. I'm actually doing that. I'm doing deltas on there. So what I actually did was I broke it down in terms of like, yeah, it's super minimal. I also think I'm kind of like leaving stuff on the table as well, because there's only. Do you want me to hand it to him? So I think I'm probably still leaving stuff on the table as well, because it's still 200K.
I mean, it'll be nothing after that.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
completely. The thing is, because I'm like trying to design a whole lobby, and I'm trying to do like about 11 or 12 controllers. So when you think about a system, you kind of have to like, iterate on the whole system as opposed to just like, oh, I'm just going to work on a game. So I can just work on a game, but then like the rest of the system, I've then got to catch up. So I have to be really diligent about like, I work on a thing, it comes up with like a pattern for me, and then I can go and like generalize that pattern across other parts of the system. I have indeed, yeah, just to thank those guys. So yeah, if you fancy a demo, I actually think that the best one is probably Mario Kart, because yeah, you can basically just modulate your speed, and you know, tell me.
Yeah, so my understanding is you've got Svelte front ends,
Yes.
and low latency, passing simple data back and forth.
Yeah.
But what is going on with the back end? There's a fly instance,
Yeah, that's
and you've
right.
got a what kind of physics server or something going on?
That's exactly it.
Could you elaborate, please?
Yeah. So I've had an experiment with a few ways of you know, figuring out how you do physics. I've had a look at Rapier, which is what they use in 3Ls, which I think is probably ultimately the one that I'm going to go for. The one that was just kind of cheap and cheerful, just to get up and running, like really, which I actually did at a hackathon a while ago in London. That's using Canon ES, which is a fork of Canon.js. The thing that I've just shown you here, that's actually Cloudflare. The mixed reality games itself actually runs on Fly.io. So each one of those is like a Docker container. Each one of those is basically like running in Firecracker, which is like AWS. And what they've basically done is they've come up with this method of shrinking down a machine. So it's like a virtual machine, but it's very, very, very lightweight. Fly.io then basically have like Pilot and a bunch of other things to kind of replace init. So obviously, like you go to PID01 on your Unix box, and you'll see like init. That's the thing that basically fires off all of your apps. So that's Pilot on Fly, and it keeps everything really, really lightweight. And they have this other layer. It'll come back to me in a second. I can't remember what it's called. It basically is the thing that when you're in Fly and you see like suspended or your machine is active and running, and there's like basically like a proxy layer, and that kind of like manages like, oh, you know, like Scott wants to set up a Pong room again, like, you know, where did we do it? And then it basically says, well, everybody's playing in London, so just like ship that off to the London server. And then somebody in, I don't know, Saudi Arabia wants to play, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, do that in their local you know, servers, whatever they've provisioned, probably through AWS or something like that, or maybe they've managed their own over at Fly. So yeah, if I just jump into Pong, and I can. So this isn't on the live stream, but I will make sure that it's pointing at the camera in a second. So if I do that, okay, so move all of the things. This is a disaster now. I've got like loads of windows open. Okay, let's just jump back into here and back into here. Okay, so can we move the camera? Hello, come with me. Come on. Okay, it's not going to do it, is it? Oh, it is now. Excellent. Okay, great. Okay, brilliant. So if we do that, so can you put the camera stream onto the TV? Is that working? Can you see the laptop? Okay. So what we have here is you can play it. You can play both of them, in fact. All it takes is putting your beer down. And that's really it. That's how you play the game. So if you just move your hand, obviously one of them will be mirrored. That's correct. Because at the moment, I haven't actually added the social media component to go and do the sharing. But you can imagine how simple that is. You know, it's sending a link to a room. The room is like a socket.io room. You know, nothing to see here, except the difference is that all of this works under 100 milliseconds. So it's cushy, right? Like it actually works. You know.
too slow. I can't.
You
switch
can't
the
actually
frame
see them
between the
both. So if I just flip this around, so you have a crack at it. So, yeah. So somebody come and pair with me on mixed reality games, and I'll do it on my phone. Okay, I'll send you the URL. So if I go onto Pong. Okay, so go to mixed reality games Pong. In fact, actually, are you on WhatsApp group? Okay. Yeah. So, okay, demo in progress. It will totally work. Yeah. So mixed reality games. ES, and then go to Pong, and then go to. I'll have a look at that. Okay. So can I send this down here and somebody else have a play? I mean, you'll be playing against yourself, unfortunately, for the moment, unless you actually want to follow the link, and then you can play with somebody else. If you want to have a crack at it, come on then. So if I just spin that around. So basically, one is mirrored. So the game knows that one person is at the end of the table, one person is at the other end of the table. So really, all is that's doing is just setting the camera coordinate up on the paddle side. So if the paddle side is blue, then that's where the camera's on the blue side. So yeah, let's just go to this. So if you grab that link there, so you see the letters at the bottom. So P6. So yeah, the thing is though, I just need hands for a second. So if you type in P, no, capital S 3, and then capital 0, and then an I think. Okay, go for it. Press go. Okay, so press allow. So now we're playing against each other. So I need to I need to just set up my camera. Okay. So mixed reality games. If you type mixed reality games. No. If you go to mixed reality games, and then rather than ES, I've done .es like that. I can actually see that the ball is bouncing. It's quite possible that actually looking at here is something like maybe I've configured this to maybe 15 frames per second on the actual game speed, so it's very, very slow. Really? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Okay, so rather than have everyone on stream, looking at everyone looking at their phones,
Sure. Okay. Okay. So you can send that to the stream. Everybody can.
I have done, yeah.
Yeah, everybody can have a look at mixed reality games.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you.
So I shared the link in the chat. Realitygame.es. Sorry, mixedrealitygame.es. If anyone wants to take part, we're going to wrap the stream. Obviously, we can all socialise after this, but we're going to wrap it on YouTube and then call it for that. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you once again to Triver for hosting us this evening, and thank you for the food and drinks. So thank you. Thank you for running the whole stream.